We're going to discuss pixlr, and I'm going to do a number of things. First of all, we're going to just go ahead and open a browser so that we can access pixlr. It is an online image editor, and we will type in pixlr, and since I've already got it in my browser, I'll just go down here to pixlr.com. We'll click on that, and we're going to click on Open Pixlr Express Efficient. Again, a single click with your left button on the mouse. Now this is an online program, so you have to be on the internet in order to use it. You have a number of icons here. We're going to go to the first icon that says Browse. We're going to click again with the left button on the mouse, and this will allow us to access images that we want to work with. We'll just start with the very top one, and I'm going to click Open. Again, when we're doing the clicks, we're going to be using the left key on the mouse. And now we're going to go over here to look at the different options available. Start with Adjustment, and we're going to go all the way down the line here and try to use these. Try to use it as much as possible with one particular image. So here I'm going to crop in a little tighter just to get into the face. Again, what you do is you put your arrow on the little box up in the corner, press your key down, and then drag. So we've got a little bit tighter image here. It'll make it easier to work with. The resize button, if we want to make this image larger or smaller, we can go in here and type in numbers. I'm not going to do that with this image, but you just click in here, type a different number. When it's blue, you can type right over the top, and go over here and click again, and you could type right over the top. We'll cancel out of that, and we go to Rotate. Now I want to show you Rotate only because you sometimes will have images that are laying on their side and they need to be rotated so you can look at them properly. We'll go ahead and, for example, if you click on this right, which would be a clockwise arrow, it'll rotate your image into a vertical position. If you want it back where it was, you'd click on the other arrow, which is the counterclockwise arrow. And in this situation, we're really not going to go any farther in it, but you want to rotate images on occasion because that's the way they may come into your computer if your camera hasn't already rotated them. So we'll cancel out of that, and we'll go on to Autofix. Now, Autofix works well on images that have color cast. This one doesn't really have a color cast, and if you look at it, you've got really an autofix that you don't want, and we'll cancel out of that. We'll go ahead and show you later an image that requires some autofixing. Color, you can click on Color, and here you can change the hue, the saturation, the lightness of the image. What you do is when you have these sliders, you click on the slider with your, again, using your left button, and you can slide back and forth. You can see some major changes in color, and we want to leave this how it originally was. And since there's a number in there, you can go right back to 0 or close as possible. Saturation, you can make this more saturated, less saturated. You can make it black and white if you want by desaturating it. Again, this image is pretty close to where it should be, so we're not going to mess too much with it. You can make it lighter or darker. Again, this image is about where it should be, so we're not going to make a lot of changes. And we'll cancel out of that and go over here to Vibrance. The Vibrance kind of punches up certain colors that haven't been enough color in them. And as you start doing that on this image, we see nothing. Oops, we do see some. You'll get a saturation increase in some areas. Vibrance should be used sparingly, and it sometimes will help an image. The particular image I have open is probably not the best choice to show you this example. And what I want to do is go through every one of these options without having to switch images all the time. So we'll cancel out of that, and we'll go to Contrast and Brightness. Now let's say this image looks a little too light to you. You can click again on the slider and slide just a little bit to the left. You can see we can make it real dark, we can make it real light, but maybe just a little bit darker. So we're down 6 points there. The contrast looks pretty good. Maybe we'd like to just drop it. If you change this contrast, you'll see The dark areas will lighten up. You go the other way. If you don't want the background to show, you could go the other way and make those background areas darker. We'll leave the contrast about where it is. And again, we're going to cancel out of these. We're going through all these just to show you what to do. Blur. Now, blur is something that needs to be used very carefully. This image here, obviously, you don't want to blur. In fact, I wouldn't recommend blurring this images at all, but sometimes you'll have an image where maybe the skin is a little bit too sharp. We could type a number in here. Let's say we want to type in 2. That was 20. Let's back it up. Type in a 2. Maybe that, and you'll see it start softening the image down. That's, as far as I'm concerned, way too much. So we'll back up here and go to sharpen. Now, sharpen would be the opposite of blur. And right now we have 50% sharpening. Sharpening on person's skin, probably not a real good idea. We can go back to the original. If you want to sharpen it a little bit, maybe the eyes or something need to be sharpened up. But when you sharpen up a person's skin, you're also going to show all of the blemishes and so on. And you can control the radius of this sharpening also, which will have an effect on how the sharpening looks. Again, we'll cancel out of that. And we go to denoise. Now, there's really not any noise in this image, so it's probably not a very good example to work with.